Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Nelson, founder of the Adopt a Single Mom Project and Adopt a Single Mom for Christmas. Welcome to part 2 of our back to school series. Today, I have an amazing expert guest to share with you on early education and all of our back to school dilemmas with our kiddos. Dr. Heather CRITCHOSIN from Country Charm Early Learning Center is with us. Heather is a good friend of mine. I promise you are in good hands today. But I wanted to share for those of you who are new to the Adopt a Single Mom Project or might be learning about us now for the first time today. I founded the Adopt a Single Mom Project in 2017, really with the intent of just gifting working single moms, those who are underserved and under-recognized very often by our community as needing a support system, just wanting to gift her with some gifts at Christmas, and it has turned into an amazing support opportunity for us to reach out and provide services and resources to the working single mom population. And may I throw in that Heather is also a working single mom of 2 beautiful, wonderful girls as a great mom. So anyway, so what we're going to share with you today is what the #1 dilemma facing parents this school year and always for working single moms, and that is childcare. Childcare is the #1 dilemma working parents of school-age children have, whether it is before care, after care, during school, from diapers to to middle school. It is a challenge. And with our districts, with varying educational options ranging from 100% virtual to partial school to hybrid models to going full in, and kids needing to be, in all of their, PPE gear and all of that, it's really creating a big challenge for parents, for our districts, for our community, for businesses, even how to navigate with parents who don't have childcare. So this is a big hot topic right now for all of us at the community level. So let me tell you a little bit more about the Adopt a Single Mom Project. And if you're a working single mom listening to this now, we want you to come into our fold and learn about us so we can learn about how to support you. So to learn more, you can go to our website, adoptasinglemom.org. We provide support services, as I said, from emotional support, social support, and community resources throughout the year. And we would love for you to be part of that so we can support you. So let me share with you what Heather's going to share with us today. And let me introduce you to her properly so that you know that she is well qualified to be sharing all of the wisdom and the insights and experiences in this field. So as an early education expert, Heather is highly qualified to share and help us navigate our options for school-age children. Her educational background includes earning a dual undergrad degree in early education and elementary education. She has a master's of science in early childhood education, and her doctorate of education in educational leadership with a concentration in K-12 administration. And I told you she is qualified. So as the executive director of Country Charm Early Learning Center, which is in the Hazleton area school district. She oversees all areas of programming. It's also an accredited center with NACE, National Education for Young Children, and the Pennsylvania Keystone Stars program. And I'll let her, she's going to share the significance of this, especially as parents who are looking for choosing now a new provider or getting your children into an early education center, why that's important. And a private academic, how do you say this? Private academic school licensed through the Pennsylvania Department of Education for, is it the Keystone Stars program, Heather? Is
Two different things. Two different things.
Two totally different things.
Mm-hmm.
Her school serves approximately 170 school-age kids from 6.
Not school age, all ages.
All ages from 6 weeks.
Up to 5. Up to 5, 170, and then I think we usually serve another 24 school agers. Mm-hmm.
In the past. This year, it's going to be different probably, right?
A little bit. A little bit.
So, all right. So welcome, Heather. I'm going to turn it over to you. You can start anywhere that you want, because I know from the conversations that we have, we may go down the rabbit hole and drift off and come back, and we'll pull it all together. But I want all of you viewers, please say hi in the comments so we know that you're watching. And if you have a comment or a question, share it. And at the end, myself and Heather will answer the questions depending on who they're directed to. So all you, Heather.
Okay. Well, first of all, Donna, will I see the comments come up on the bottom? Do I see them?
You may. It depends on how you have your phone set, but I'll cue you.
Right.
Let you know.
Yeah. Okay. Because just don't think I'm ignoring them. Well, no. I'd like to put a disclaimer that I have 3 dogs in the background that are now sleeping, and if anyone from UPS or Amazon rings the doorbell, I am going to walk outside so that we don't hear that. But this is one of the problems we have with working from home.
Yep.
So first, I want to start out with all of this. Why is quality important? Okay. One of the important things in the state of Pennsylvania, and actually across the country, we have started to define the word quality when it comes to early childhood. Early childhood education is serving any child under the age of 10 or 12 years old. It depends on where you are. Okay. In Pennsylvania, 4th grade and under is considered early childhood. 5 years ago, at the college level, early childhood was considered 3rd grade and under. So sometimes you're going to hear people say different things. You may hear an elementary education teacher consider early childhood only childcare and preschool. That's not actually the formal definition. Okay, so this is seen in different avenues, but nationally, it's defined as anybody under 3rd grade. Okay, in Pennsylvania, again, 4th grade. Anyway. Now, a second definition we need to know is, what is childcare? Childcare is any time somebody other than the parent or the guardian is with a child. So in the state of Pennsylvania, you can have maybe 2 children in your house, in your home. Maybe you babysit, maybe 3 children. Okay, you are not a childcare center. You would be defined as in-home care. All right. If you have 6 children, you are considered a child care center, a family center. Now, you may know people that are operating with just 6 children, but you need to be licensed to do that. Some people do not operate as a licensed provider. That's not good. There's no real rules to follow. But if you are a licensed provider, you're going to be licensed under Pennsylvania Department of Human Services. All right. Department of Human Services has different distinctions. All right. So like I said, in-home, you're never going to have them knock on your door. A family child care center, which is up to 6 children, which does include your own child. So if Donna owned her own family center and she had 2 young children, she could only take on 4 more children. Okay. Because her 2 are included in that number. All right. And that, again, could be in her home. And there are programs, and they're excellent programs, but they do exist. Then you have group care. Group care is from 6 children to 12 children. All right. They are considered a child care center, but they're considered under the term group care. All right. You might have heard group homes, in Pennsylvania. That's, within 12 kids. Then you have child care centers. Child care centers are much larger. Okay. They can have anywhere from, if you have up to 45 children in a child care center, your director can also be the teacher. If you have a center like mine, we are licensed for, off the top of my head, I'm going to say 160, 170. I'm not good on the spot with that, but because we don't take as many as we're allowed to. But you have to have a director outside of that. So every single one of these different kind of programs has a different regulation. A lot reflects the other, but they're totally separate regulations. So anything I tell you is going to pretty much be based on a child care center. All right. Don't go to your family provider and say, but she said. It's different. They have different ratios. For instance, a ratio, if you hear me talking about ratios, is how many adults per child. So in a group home, okay, it's the same as a child care center, not to cause confusion for anybody, but if you're in a family center, you can have a school ager at the same time as you have an infant, and it's the same, you can have 6. no matter what age. That is not true for me, okay? And it's not true for a group center. So for the sake of this conversation, we're going to be talking about a childcare center, okay? So there's different.
And again, a child care center has greater than 12.
Greater than 12, yes. And may have many of the same rules as a group center. So if your child is enrolled in a center right now, the first thing you'd have to distinguish is, are you a group center or a child care center? If you have more than 12, you're automatically a child care center. And you're under DHS, Department of Human Services, child care regulations, okay, for centers. So again,
but not Department of Ed. Department of Ed is totally different.
No, totally different. And I'm going to go over each one in breadth of it all. Okay. So the first thing is there are the different levels under DHS. That's your basic. In the regulations for that, you're looking at the outlets are covered. You're looking at the toys are not broken. That you have a minimum number of children per staff. In a center, it's 4 infants for every 1 teacher. It's 5 toddlers for every 1 teacher that are age 1 and under, 1 to 2. 2 to 3 is 1 to 6. Then 3 years old to 5 years old is 1 to 10. Okay. And school age, there's younger and there's older school age. My center, we always go by the younger school age because it makes it easier, is 1 to 12. Okay. If you happen to have an infant in the same classroom as a school ager, the ratio automatically goes down to the younger child. So even though it's a school ager, it's 1 to 4, always, okay? A lot of times centers have problems when parents don't show up. Like if everybody's supposed to show up at 8 o'clock, 8:30, and then 9 o'clock, but everybody happens to show up at 7 o'clock, you can have a problem and be over ratio. So if you ever hear the term of your center say, oh, we're over ratio, that's illegal. It's not supposed to happen. Okay. Does it ever happen? Yes, because sometimes people don't show up to work, or sometimes you need to have a backup. Your center has to have a backup plan for that. All right. So now the second form of licensing is your Pennsylvania Department of Education. Okay. Pennsylvania Department of Education starts, I want to say 37 months old in September. Okay. So you can actually literally have what's considered a toddler in childcare be in a Department of Education classroom. All right. There is no Department of Education classroom for anybody under 3 years old. Okay, or I'm sorry, under I think it's 30 months. 30 months. I'm sorry, 30 months. Okay, so that 30 to 36 months is considered a preschooler and not a toddler under the Department of Education if it starts in September. You follow? So you cannot consider a 30-month-old in the month of November under the Department of Education. Okay, so their regulations are completely different. Okay, you can have like 1 teacher to 17. Okay, if you have 3, 4, and 5-year-olds in a classroom, much different ratios. Okay, you cannot have Department of Education activities going on at the same time as childcare activities are going on. So in my center, I have 2 classrooms that are licensed by the Department of Education. All right, in the fall, we will be we open at 6:30, from 6:30 to 9 o'clock, we are under the Department of Human Service licensing. 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock, we are under the Department of Education licensing. And then from 3 o'clock to 5:30, we are then again under the Department of Human Service licensing. So it's complicated, all right? So if you ever walk into a center and you see 1 adult to 17 children and they are licensed by Department of Education, and it is like, let's say, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it may be okay. So don't get upset if you see the ratio change. It's just a licensing change, all right? You would never see that in a toddler classroom, a 2-year-old classroom. That would not happen, okay? Department of Education requires you to have a curriculum, okay? A reasonable curriculum, all right? It might be a curriculum that requires worksheets. Okay, which with the other regulations, the other accreditations I'm going to tell you about would not allow that. All right, so it doesn't necessarily tell you the philosophy that the school has to be. If your school is licensed as a private academic school, it could be a Montessori school. It could be an elementary school. It could be a Christian school. It could be any school like that. It could be any school that is just not a public school. All right, so that Department of Education licensing can look very, very different depending on the philosophy of the school. Okay. And it may not be the curriculum that would be acceptable to, different schools. Like a Montessori curriculum is very specific. They're very hands-on. You're not going to see a lot of worksheets. Another school might have nothing but worksheets and the kids sitting at desks. So the Department of Education licensing can look very, very different, okay? You would have to know as a parent what you want, all right? Then you have Keystone Stars. Keystone Stars is how we define quality in Pennsylvania, all right? It's not the same as how we would define quality maybe in Nebraska, all right? But in Pennsylvania, this is how we do it. It's research-based. My dissertation was based on this for my doctorate. Basically, across the nation, all right, there's quality improvement rating systems. We have them in hospitals. We have them in many different industries, okay? Basically, it's almost like the easiest way to tell someone it's not in, you know, a hospital or an education is imagine the AAA. You have different AAA ratings for your hotel. So if you go to a hotel that has, you know, nothing but the basics, it might be a 1-star. And then you go to, you know, depending on the level, if you have a 4-star restaurant and everything, you might be have a higher star, okay? Your quality depends on, you know, there's a level of quality and it's defined, all right? Well, that's what Keystone Stars does for just childcare, not Department of Education, okay? So in Pennsylvania, you can have a 1-star through 4-star program, all right? A 1-star program means nothing more than you are licensed by the Department of Human Services. So if you open up as a child care center, you get 1 star.
Oh, okay? Wow.
That does not mean, yes, it does not mean now necessarily that, you know, that program that just opened up, if you're looking right now, you're a parent and there's a program that's opening their doors today or September 1st and they only have 1 star, don't discount them, okay, to say that they don't have quality because they haven't had enough time to earn quality, okay? If they're open a full year and, you know, or let's say, you know, I believe you're forced to push up the ladder in stars. But, you know, if your program is open, you know, 5 years and you're at star 1 or 2, okay, you can start asking those questions, okay? But like a center just opening has to open up, you know, they're going to be, you know, at a lower level, okay? They have to be. It's just not going to be humanly possible to open up your doors and to be a 4-star center. With Keystone Stars now, the level
really good information to really understand for parents that are looking for a high quality child care center. I'm going to divert here for a hot second because I remember, you know, I didn't say this in the beginning, but one of the way that you and I know each other is when my son Kanan, when I was going through my divorce, and I was working from home and I did not want Kanan sitting in front of the TV all day. And I needed him to be somewhere, you know, and I had no family in the area. And your center in your Drums location, your original Drums location, was the center that was closest to me. And when I had checked out all of the ones in the area, of course, I decided to come to your center. But you were brand new. There was no accreditation. You were working on your NACE accreditation. No. So, but what I knew straight up from the beginning was that the vibe that I got talking with you, seeing that there were no TVs in the whole center, that my kid was not going to be put in front of a TV having screen time all day. That was not going to be what was going to be happening. That was really important to me. So I knew that your center was high quality compared to the other places that I had, a couple of other places that I had looked. So yeah. So just to validate what you're saying, you know, it doesn't mean that it's not a high quality center, but what are those things that we as parents should be looking for as their closest, best available place nearby that is the only childcare option that has openings right now? What should they be looking for?
Right. Okay, well, some of the different things, like this Keystone Stars program, its sole purpose, well, it's not a sole purpose, but one of the purposes is to help parents to choose. So if a parent sees a 3 or a 4-star center, that is the definition of quality in Pennsylvania. A star 3 or a star 4 is your level that tells a parent they have quality. Now, quality is defined, all right, what the center has to do. They have to have their staff meet certain criteria and training, as far as not only actual degrees, okay, but enough hours in training, all right, professional development every year. You're going to have teachers that are CPR certified. You're going to have, you know, everybody has a fire safety certification. There's going to be different things they need to do in the curriculum. They're going to need to meet a actual standardized test within their classroom that a teacher needs to be able to perform a certain score. Okay, that score is based on health and safety. It's based on the environment. Is it comfortable for children? Do children have health and safety practices occurring in that classroom? Something as you know, when a child enters the classroom, do we say hello to them in their home language? It gets nitty gritty. Does our book area have a very specific amount of books in multicultural, non-sexist, multi-ability, the different themes that we have, different science, you know, like it's very, very detailed. So if you are in a 4-star center, any program that is in this and going to stars ladder, whether it's a 2 trying to go to a 3 trying to go to a 4, or a 4 trying to maintain its star 4, it is no joke. This is not, we used to define childcare years ago as a babysitting service. That is not happening. It's not happening at any star level. It's hard. It's very hard. Anyway, so Keystone's, go ahead. I'm sorry, Donna, go ahead.
You'll probably touch on this anyway, because I know we talked about it already previously, but the challenge for parents in looking for high quality childcare right now. So how many or what percentage of the childcare centers in the state of Pennsylvania or in our region are considered this high quality, whether they have 3 stars, 4 stars, or whatever that, or NACI accreditation, or whatever is considered now high quality?
The last time it was defined, which I believe was within the last 5 years, research is considered current if it's within the last 10 years, but this is within the last 5 years, 3%, 3. So there's 3%. Right now, I know of 2 centers that are star 4. There might be 3 centers in our area, in the Hazleton Area School District, that are 3 centers star 4. I don't know what all the other levels are because I don't keep up with it, but and they go up and down. Okay, if a 4-star center goes down to a star 3, it might be because they lost one of their teachers and they're having a hard time replacing them with another 4-year degree teacher. So it could be a very, you know, small reason why it happened. Okay, and then let me go through the last accreditation very quickly so that I can go on to the other important things you need to know here, because I see we're going to be short on time. But NACI is a national accreditation. Okay? It's a national accreditation for the education of young children. Okay, it is the equivalent to early childhood education as to what the Bar Association would be for lawyers. Okay, it is the accreditation. All right, Keystone Stars performance standards are based on NACI. So a lot of I think for NACI we were reaccredited. I want to say last year we had 400 something criteria to fill. No kidding.
Wow.
It's my teachers are rock stars. They're rock stars. And I cannot, as an administrator, do this without them. So if you're going to be NACI accredited, your teachers have to pull their weight. It can't be just one person pulling the weight. But I have to say, Keystone Stars, you know, they require that score that you get, that environmental rating scale. That's based on one teacher. So for me, we also added NACI because I had as of last year, 24 teachers. I did not want an outside accreditation agency coming in and having all of our funding, because your funding is based on this, how much money you get from Coordinate It and all that. It's based on your quality level, all right? So if one of my staff did something wrong and they went through an ERS visit, okay, you have one person coming in and they're looking at a snapshot of what you do within a period of time. And if for some reason someone screws up, I could lose all that funding potentially. That's a lot of high, you know, risk on somebody that's not making a huge salary. So to me, NACI is across the board. It makes it easier. So any childcare centers that are on this, NACI is you know, a very nice way of taking the pressure off of any one person. It puts the pressure on everybody, but it doesn't just rely on one person. Now, what else do I want to tell you here about all this? Why parents are having a challenge. One of the problems that parents are having a challenge with is there's a limited number of high quality centers, all right? High quality childcare, research shows, is good for children. There's a lot of research to show that. A lot of longitudinal, I can't say the word, research. And it's for every dollar you put into high quality early childhood, okay, it ranges from, you know, $3 all the way to like, I think $17 in savings. In mental health for young children, you have the rates of divorce are lower, rates of poverty are lower, rates of drug abuse are lower. Children that attend these programs they're more successful in life. And we know this. The government knows it. Everybody knows it, okay? Lower quality programs, a low quality program is bad for children. So when you hear somebody say, I'm not going to put my child in childcare because it's, they're right. Childcare is horrible for children unless it's high quality. It has to be high quality. All right. Well, like I said, the definition of high quality is in each state different. All right. But for the most part, we're going to follow NACE because that's what our bar association is. Okay. In early childhood. So, and Keystone Stars in Pennsylvania is one of the most progressive, high quality initiatives in the nation. They look at Pennsylvania. We are the model. So, so anyway, parents are having a challenge
awesome, considering we're not the model for very much across the nation.
We are. Pennsylvania, people, if you are in a state that's just starting this, they look at Pennsylvania. They were pioneers in this. So one of the pioneers. Awesome. Yeah, it is. So now, if parents are having a challenge finding high quality, because there's just not that many spaces. There's just not that many. So if you have
that's what you and I were talking about too, right? Like since COVID, so many, I mean, literally hundreds of daycare and childcare centers across the state have closed because of COVID-19 and not getting the financial support or just realizing that the headaches to try to navigate through it and getting restarted. So many childcare centers have closed, and that is presenting a huge challenge for centers like you that are still open, as well as parents trying to figure out what without even dealing with the, oh shit, what are we doing now that our kids are not going to be in school or only going part-time? So yeah, speak to all the challenges around that you're facing and that you see is going to be an overarching challenge for school districts and parents and so forth.
Right. Well, right now, what I'm seeing, a few of my teachers have had to leave, okay, because honestly, just because they have family members that, they're compromised. They cannot be working with me all day long in a childcare center because, again, we have 100 children there every day, and then go home and have their fragile family member, at home and maybe bring an illness home. So, you know, what's happening, you have that, and you can't blame them. You cannot blame them that they have to protect their families. Or, you might have children also have health issues. There are children that should not be in group care right now. They shouldn't. So we have that situation. So I lost 4 staff, all right, for very, very good reasons, all right, and it's that's the way it has to be. So now I have to hire. Well, it's hard because a lot of people don't want to work right now. We're considered essential employees. We had a waiver. I didn't open on that waiver because honestly, I didn't know what we were going to have. And centers that opened up on the waiver, and centers that operated during COVID early on, they couldn't afford to run their centers on 2, 3, 4 kids. You can't. You need to have so many children to pay for that staff person. We could not, based on my staff, because for these high standards, I need to give my staff benefits. My staff it's not the child care person that's out there working for minimum wage. And no, my staff make a higher salary. They have benefits. They have days off. They have health insurance and vision, dental, because they have to. I have to provide these or else I will not get licensed. That's why you pay more when you're, the higher quality, because we have to provide more. So my staff, it's hard to find people because, again, if they can't work. And then second of all, we're open when no one else is open. My staff, they're questioning, why are we allowed to be open, but the school district isn't allowed to be open? And why do we have to, don't they understand? Now there are programs coming out like Hazard Pay and that. I applied for these programs, but for childcare centers, you have to front the money. Childcare centers don't have that kind of savings. We don't have endowments. We don't get funding from the federal government. Okay, we get paid. We do indeed get funding, okay, from coordinated childcare. So if you're a single mom and you're making under a certain threshold, you may have the state paying for your childcare. But let me give you an example. If I charge $100, I'm only probably getting $80, and I'm taking a $20 loss for every child. And I specifically don't charge the parent the difference because honestly, if you can't afford, if you're a single mom, you can't afford it. You just can't afford it. But I
remember. I want to interject here 1 second, just so people understand it. I hope that people are getting a sense for the integrity and the leadership that you are demonstrating in the way that you're running your business. Because 2 things: one, nothing irks me more than businesses paying child wages to people with degrees or with an education of some form. And so that's a pet peeve of mine. And so I really respect that you're treating your organization and your staff as legit professionals that they are. Because I know absolutely from my coaching and the business leaders that I work with, and, you know, my experience is that people will level up to the degree to which you treat them. And that shows in the staff that you've had there forever and a day. Probably some of them are still there from 20 some years ago when Kanan was there.
Yeah, they are.
But the second thing that I wanted to say, which is speaking to what you just said, which is that what used to be coordinated childcare, I don't remember what it's called anymore. And I know I just
childcare works, or there's a lot of different names.
Yes,
the subsidy programs.
The childcare subsidy program. So there's two things I want to speak to that, you know, it's, I think, of the community at large, and you and I talked about this in a prior conversation too. I did not know anything about childcare subsidy when I came to you dead broke and said, I just need a couple days a week for my son to be here so that I can concentrate and do my work from home. And you said to me, I don't think we've ever even talked about the impact that you opening this opportunity for me has even made on my life. So, but you're the one that said, did you apply for coordinated? And I'm like, what the hell is that? Like I wasn't even divorced. I was separated. I mean, you know, my ex had abandoned us. I had no money. We were in business together. The doors were locked. I had to regroup. And I couldn't even, like, I wasn't even, it was emotionally, mentally, I was in no place to even do that. And then I had Kanan sitting on the floor in front of a TV or playing with something, you know, trying to, like, wanting my attention. So you not only having the high quality childcare literally around the corner from me, and turning me on to coordinated childcare so I could apply for that. And I probably didn't even pay you more than $10 or $15 a week for him to be there.
It's not bad.
It was a life changer, but I didn't know anything about that. So, you know, having that opportunity was fantastic for me. The challenge that our families are facing now, though, is that there's a waiting list because there's no funding, or it's not getting processed. Having the daycares, the childcare centers that do accept coordinated or the subsidy programs are full or have a waiting list. It's a real challenge for our families right now. Childcare centers have closed. There's no subsidy available. The daycares that take it, they're full and have a waiting list. I mean, it stinks. All right, back to you.
Right. Okay, so for some families, if you have a preschooler 3 to 5 years old right now, there is a funding source that we have for the hours. I want to say 9 to 2, if that's helpful. We have childcare before and after. Okay, the childcare will be a lower cost. Are you hearing me? Okay.
Yep.
I'm getting feedback. Okay. So the childcare would be at a lower cost outside of that. It's like called wraparound care. But we have some spaces open for pre-K counts. And the school district may, all right, that will offer your child 3 to 5 years old quality preschool. Okay, that's a whole other funding you have to make under a certain amount of money. If you're within 100% of the poverty level, okay, which I'm going off the top of my head, which is never good. I want to say it's, well, 300% of the poverty level is around 70,000. Okay, so
for a family of 4, right?
For a family of 4, yes. So if anybody emails me at admissions,
would you say a parent, the adults plus the children, not just children? 4.
Yes, adult plus children. Yes, thank you. But there's 100, 200, 300% of the poverty level. 100% would qualify under Head Start. 200% would qualify under probably coordinated or maybe Head Start. I don't know if Head Start does that. It depends on your waiting list. 300% of the poverty level. The problem is, and that is that's most working single moms. Okay.
Yep.
If you're within 300%, what research is showing is that yes, you can work and you're making a reasonable salary to support yourself, but you cannot afford childcare. So you're feeding your family, you're supporting your household, but you cannot afford childcare. Okay.
Yep.
Well,
100%.
because yep. Now the state is not looking at the childcare portion. They're looking at the fact for that dollar put in, you save all this money in programs later on, like welfare and crime and all that. But we do have spaces, if that's helpful, at least a parent can work during the hours that we have that program. Okay, so you can
So just
email.
to clarify though, is it you're only allowed to in your is it pre-K counts? What is it? I forget what it's called.
Pre-K counts. It's a free preschool program.
But do they have to be in the Hazleton area school district to participate in your school?
No.
They can be from anywhere?
They're supposed to be, but we've had kids from Mountaintop, yeah. We've had kids outside of Hazleton area.
Oh, that's cool. Awesome.
We don't advertise that, but yeah.
Yeah.
But we take we take 40 children. Other centers, I think Pixie Paradise, Child Development Council, Hazleton Area School District, and Anna McLaughlin's, we're all partners. And together we have 107 spaces, but we have 40 at Country Charm. And I think I just advertised that we have 11 spots open. We might be down to 5 now. I don't know where we're at. But if you do need care between those hours, it's not care, but you could go to work while your child's there. Okay.
Yeah.
But we do follow the Hazleton Area School District calendar. So if we're closed, if Hazleton Area is closed, we're closed. So that's the hard part for working families. But we do have that aftercare portion. Anyway, so another thing that I wanted to mention was school age care, because I know that we only have around 20 minutes left, and we want to talk about that school age and what to do with our children, considering they cannot be. Well, there is a law that is basically, and I'm working with the school district on this. I called the superintendent, and I might have an idea on how to get around this, but there is a law that says, and I know this because I was personally, my center was written up for this, okay, that you cannot
and you and I, this is what brought the awareness to me. So parents, listen up. This is super important. Go.
Now, and please understand, the school district does not necessarily know this because this isn't a normal situation, okay?
Right.
But it is a Pennsylvania state law, and I'm going to read it, quote unquote, a child daycare facility may not admit the child for care during the hours when the child is required by law to attend public or private school, okay? A school ager is defined as a child who is enrolled in kindergarten through 4th grade, if that's considered a young school ager, and an older school ager is 4th grade to 15 years old, okay? So if your child is from kindergarten up to 15 years old, all right, they cannot be in my program while school's going on, all right? And I tested this. I didn't know it.
Just to clarify this for parents to understand, it means that even if your child is being virtual or cyber chartered, whatever you want to call it, virtual through the school district, online, whatever, enrolled in school, you cannot send your child to a daycare center and have them sit there and do their schooling while you go to work. That's how you and I started talking about this.
Yes. And so, yes. So yeah, it's a huge problem. And then school age care is defined as, now they defined what a school ager is, so now they're saying school age care. They furthermore, in a third area, say supervised children, supervised child in daycare in a departmentally certified facility during the hours when a child is not required to attend school. So they say it 3 times in the regulations, twice that the child can't be there, and then once they define the child, okay? So it is my idea that if we can make it that they're not required to sign on at a given time, perhaps we can have them there. All right. So I'm working on, I want to do it. We've been asked by Hazleton area if we will be providing the service. I want to say yes, but I cannot have the service illegally. Some people might say, oh, well, you can just act like you don't know. Well, because I was written up for it before, I know. So
right, and that puts your license in jeopardy, right? Like that's the thing. It's not just a fine. It puts your license, your livelihood in jeopardy. It is not worth it, even though we're trying to solve a huge community problem, a dilemma for families and school districts and employers. You know, it's a problem for everyone at the community level involved. Employers, as you have experienced, are losing staff or having to fire staff because they have a child care issue.
Right. So I'm going to work with the school district to see if we cannot get around that. If our children are not required to be online at that time, perhaps then we'll be allowed to. Now, here's the thing. It's a state law.
But as we were talking about earlier, so yesterday our guest was from Commonwealth Charter Academy, and Tom was talking about the difference, as you and I were talking about earlier, synchronistic versus asynchronistic learning. So CCA, the cyber charter that was on yesterday, their model is asynchronistic, which means that the student can log on whenever they want. So would it be okay, right, essentially for a parent to say, all right, my kid can't take their tablet and get their schooling done while I'm at work, but they can, because I have them in this cyber model that is asynchronistic, I can send them to the school age program at wherever, and then they can log on when I come home and do their schoolwork, because they're not required to be in. It's a question, right? This is the way I'm going to answer it.
Ready? This is the way I'm going to answer it. If your child happens to show up at my center and is enrolled, because they are not enrolled in a school district or in private school during the hours of childcare operation, because they can do their schoolwork at home, if they happen to take out their computer and they happen to work on schoolwork, I will not stop them. If they ask me for help with it and they ask for help with their homework, I will not stop it, okay? But they are not doing their schoolwork, or I don't want to say schoolwork, they're not doing their required login time at the center. Their actual classes are not occurring at the center. We're just supplementing and helping with homework, because homework is allowed under the child regulations, okay? But actually attending school at a childcare center, while you cannot have childcare and school instruction occurring at the same time.
Right, that's the thing. It's double dipping, right? You can't do childcare and education at the same time. No double dipping.
Right. No double dipping. Okay. So we will be happy to support students that are doing asynchronistic. Okay. I do have a call into my field representative. She's not called me back. This was now, and I know why she's not calling me back, because she doesn't have an answer. The state does not have an answer. I have learned that the state law is really based on federal law from a conversation with DONNA, who spoke with the head of the Pennsylvania Childcare Association. So I did not know it was a federal law as well. All right, but I cannot imagine the federal government changing this at this point in time, because they really want the powers that be would very much like to have the children, in school. So anyway, I don't know, but I am going to talk to the superintendent to see what we can do about providing asynchronistic learning for children enrolled at our center. So I don't know how that's going to happen, how that will work out in the end. But so we will not break the law. I'm sorry?
Yes, exactly. So looking at this, more globally at the community level, you're creative, you're innovative, you're always looking for a workaround. That's why we have great conversations. Okay. We're both reading things differently and seeing it differently and how to make it work in all ways. But but what do we do? What's everybody else do? I'm thinking about, our families that are in Susquehanna County, Lackawanna County, and they can't run their kids to, Country Charm Early Learning Center to participate in the program because you've worked out a workaround with your district or gotten a letter of approval or exception or something from the state. So what else can we do?
I imagine, I am not condoning it, but I imagine that a number of programs will operate illegally. They may, because it's necessity. It's necessity. This is the reality of it. I'm not condoning this. This is the reality of it. The centers need the families to support the program, because the programs are going under, okay? I have a lot of children coming in, but it's not my normal. And honestly, I am losing before and after care school age programs, and I have another program that's not going to be filled because people are not enrolling their child right now. So thank goodness, I try to balance the budget and plan for these things. I don't know how long it's going to go, but we try to plan. Not all centers right now are living on the edge. So I don't know. I do wonder if centers will operate illegally. They may. I can understand why. Districts are asking centers, because they don't know that it's a law. They're asking centers, we got a phone call, will you please support us? Hazelton area called me, will you please support us? Of course we want to support you. I just personally believe that if you do something illegal, it's going to catch up with you. So, and it will.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, we may go into a provisional license, and if I go into a provisional license because I don't follow the law, what may happen is everybody may lose childcare and I will lose the funding and we're going to go under anyway. So it's not wise.
Yeah.
So honestly, I don't know what to tell parents because there is no answer because our laws are not aligned with our need right now. Now, if Governor Wolf comes out and says, oh, don't even worry about that law, you're not going to have a problem. The centers will pick it up. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of where we're at right now. So I don't know. It's just up in the air.
So
I'm trying.
Yeah, and I hear that and I see that, which is amazing. So, and we're seeing parents and other, I'll just say parents, creating these little learning pods. And you and I talked about this because in wanting to solve this challenge for our single mom members and single moms at the community level, we want them to work. Single moms are always that group that seem to have their income compromised due to life challenges, divorce,
yes.
childcare, fucking pandemics, where they're out of work or can't work because now they have to be responsible for their children, as opposed to sending them, leaving them home alone, which is also an option, right? Because we talked about that, what age is safe to keep your children home alone? And do we even really want to do that? If parents don't want to do that. Single moms do it way too often to work their side gig or to work, extra overtime hours or, have their latchkey kids. Kanan was a latchkey kid, so, I get it. And, but we're seeing these parents now pulling together these little pods of 4 or 6 or whatever, kids around the same age as their child, and providing a learning environment so that, or as I've had 2 parents message me or post on Facebook. I tagged you on one of them, where they have just, I'll say school age kids. They're pulling them into either their business that isn't an education center or a child care center and just saying, my kids are this age, so bring your kids and, we'll have them school together essentially. Because again, as you said, the need doesn't match the law.
Yes. And I would be concerned. I did see that you sent me. For that facility or for that group, you may actually have your child care, DHS may show up and they may tell you, you can't do this. You're not licensed, you're not insured. There's a lot that goes along with that. A child, one thing everybody should realize that is thinking of opening up a child care program, a child can sue you, the parent can sue you, okay? But the child can sue you until they're 21 years old. So if you're in a situation where, if Kanan decided to sue me because I taught him his ABCs incorrectly, okay, he could try. And he could have done that until he was 21 years old or 20 until the paperwork went through. But that's a reality.
You still have his files in your basement until all those kids are 20.
I still have every child's file, an attendance record, and who their teacher was in my basement. So that's true. But that's the thing. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, childcare, there's a lot of risk management. There's a lot of making sure that you're, going according to different codes. Right now, my center, we're following CDC, okay, to the best of our ability. We, of course, let parents know social distancing is a problem. There's not a chance. Whether we have 20 children in a classroom or whether we have 2, I can guarantee you they will not social distance.
Why is that? Because we are social beings and connection is important. And how do we make connection? Looking at each other, talking to each other, touching each other, playing together. That's what children is supposed to do.
Yes. and when a child cannot even keep their shoes on, okay, you're not going to get them to keep a mask on. All right.
Or their glasses on or whatever else.
Or their glasses.
Yeah.
Yes. So when you see online all those teachers making fun of the way the children are going to be in school with their masks, it's true. They eat them. Yeah. It's on their head. They move it to sneeze. Okay. And so we're very realistic about it. We will not force kids to wear masks. We tell them all the time. We encourage all the time. But in group care, it's just not a reality that a child that, again, cannot keep their shoes on is going to constantly wear a mask. Children 2 years and older have to be encouraged to wear masks. Okay, they're supposed to wear them. Our staff wear masks. But the fact of the matter is your child is around other children, and we have seen in our center children, of course, we follow the protocols, but we have had children come in with fevers, and then of course they get checked and they're fine. We have not had anything, no illnesses that we would have to shut down for. But this is a great reality. The other thing is, within our center, we have the UV lights that we go into a classroom, we sanitize with UV lights. That's not the only thing we sanitize with. Our heating systems have UV lights. We have the filters for viruses and I bought that back when we thought we had the flu so bad in the fall, which I don't know. It's bad to say that we thought we had COVID in the fall, but we had terrible illnesses going through our center in November, and I got them for that purpose. And then it just happened to align with COVID. But we sanitize, we do, it's crazy in our center. We are clean freaks. But even being clean freaks, it's for care. So parents have to be comfortable coming in. We take temperatures at the door. We take temperatures all day long. We do everything we're supposed to do, hand washing, all of that. But again, you're not going to have, it does not matter the age of the child. It's hard to get adults to social distance, and it's difficult. So anyway, point being is
also, there's always this discussion in the dilemma around risk, right? But we go through our entire life making decisions, measuring risk. And this is another one. And my concern for our children, and Heather, I know it is yours too, even though we haven't talked about it at all, touched on it in this conversation. And that is the risk of trauma and negative experiences our children are going to be experiencing, being hassled to keep a mask on or to behave appropriately. And it's just, the risk is not worth it. It just, for what we know about, I'm speaking for me personally. Of course, everyone needs to make their own decision. But if I had a child in daycare, I would not want someone following him around, especially as sensitive as Canaan is, telling him to put his damn mask on, or if even just as bad, we know this about trauma, him witnessing another child, because Canaan was pretty compliant, but witnessing another child who is not as compliant, being hassled or being, feeling the child crying or feeling bad because they're not wanting to have the mask on for whatever reason. Maybe they're just defiant. It's irrelevant, But I worry about that in school, in our child care centers. It feels bad to me.
Well, no child should be forced to do anything. I don't want to say, no, we're not talking, health and safety. Like, we're not going to allow children to hit each other or bang each other in the head with blocks or throw things. Okay. I'm not talking about that. But, we don't force children. We don't force them to nap. We just don't force them. We encourage it. We will sit them there with them. We'll rub their backs. We will highly encourage it. We will give them books, things like that. But we never force a child. You cannot force a child to wear a mask. If a parent will come to me and say, no, my child must wear a mask. Okay. I am all wearing masks. It's fine. I will follow CDC because that's good for liability. That's good for everything. Okay. But we are not going to sit down and force a child to wear a mask. I'm going to tell that parent, we're having a problem keeping a mask on this child. We document, if DHS comes in and none of our children are wearing masks, we do indeed get written up. I have documentation, and every single time we have tried to encourage a child to wear a mask, they have refused. I can provide them with the documentation. So the thing is we're going to encourage it. But while we encourage kids, we're not saying, no, you really have to wear a mask. We don't harass. We want, because that child is not going to wear their mask properly anyway. They're going to be touching it constantly, and they're going to be, it's just not, it's not sanitary to begin with. So the big thing with childcare is to not allow children into your program when they are sick, to avoid it in the first place. So, and we're sending an awful lot of kids home. One thing everyone should know about childcare programs, they've changed their 24-hour rule is, a child can come back 24 hours symptom-free, probably beefed up to 72 hours. So if a child comes into our center and they end up having a fever, they end up everything, we are going to send them home, even for, sniffles, not light sniffles that we know are allergies, okay, that a doctor said are allergies. Well,
right, it's running clear, there's nothing, yeah.
Yeah, if it is anything, most illnesses are also COVID illnesses, okay, if you really look at it, okay, most illnesses that the children are going to have in a school situation can look like a COVID symptom. Okay, so
Yes.
Coughing is a the cold, a cold, allergies, and COVID may look. I mean, I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't tell you the difference between having bronchitis or getting over bronchitis and COVID. I can't do that.
Right,
So
and having a fever from an ear infection that hasn't been identified doesn't mean that you have coronavirus,
Yeah,
but
well, that's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
We know that if a child has a fever and then it's going through the classroom, we usually know what kids have. Once the first one gets diagnosed, we pretty much know what kids are having. So, yeah, but we still have to follow the COVID, so the COVID laws, or the COVID recommendations, I should say. So yes, you're going to be out of a center. As a parent, you're going to be excluded from care for longer than you would have been, let's say, last year before COVID. So consider it 72 hours. And my parents are saying to me, I can't be out of work 72 hours. Now you have to be. You have to be.
And that's what I was just about to say. And our business leaders and our business owners and our employers, our HR departments need to understand this. I know business has to get done. Like, we get that. Just like if you're essential workers, if one of your teachers calls off because she has a fever or her kid has a fever and has to be home to care, it's the same thing, right? But you're going to not have someone for 3 days, and that's a problem, right?
And and you should also, single moms, you should also know, though, there's a new law passed, which I can send to Donna. Have it. I can text it to you or email it to you. But there's a new law that's passed. It's this is not. Wasn't prepared for this conversation, but it's like a COVID law. All right. I think I did send it to you, Donna. You might be able to put it out. Off the top of my head, if your center closes, okay, for any reason for COVID, you can still get paid a portion of your salary, or if your school closes, okay, which means your elementary school. Now, you're not closed if you're
Is that the Families First Coronavirus Response Act?
Yes.
So we learned about it this morning. But again, most single moms, of course, this applies to the entire community. We know that. But most single moms work for smaller employers or employers who don't have FMLA or aren't required because they're under the
floor. This replaces that, Donna. And it's for businesses that have under 500 employees. So if your business has under 500 employees and you need to be out because you need to quarantine, or your child needs to quarantine, or your childcare center is closed because of COVID, or you're taking care of a family member who has COVID, your employer has to pay you either full rate, okay, to be out for a certain number. I think it's up to 14 days. There's different stipulations. There's A,
there
B,
are.
D.
It could be it could be 2 weeks or 12 weeks. It depends, right? But yes. That is another potential, but in some cases, specifically what we're talking about around school, it's actually only 2/3 of your income.
2/3 of your income, but our schools are not closing. That's the problem. The schools are not
closing. And that's what I said when we were having this conversation in the Facebook group this morning. Someone posted this, and I'm like, yeah, but schools, this law, it's the same law we were talking about earlier, right? Like, it's that gray. It seems a little gray. Like, so which is it? Is it during school hours or it's not during school hours? But school isn't closed. School is open,
right?
So.
Yes, it is.
So is it just that school is closed, or is it school is not accessible? So again,
we're gonna.
And this is why a lot of the moms in this group were saying they got denied applying for it, again, because their employer can deny it, even though it's a federal law. It's been
their employer cannot deny it. No, it's just it's like minimum wage. Can we deny you minimum wage? You have I would call a lawyer and ask them. It is something like.
I did put a call out earlier after I read it, so to an HR lawyer. So we're waiting.
Yeah, yeah.
So because
it's no joke.
It's complicated. Childcare is complicated. Schooling is complicated. Our rights as citizens around all of these programs that are available, whether it's for small business or FMLA, which is now this coronavirus FMLA exception, and people don't even know, and it's been available since April. Didn't even hear about it until today, and today is July, and it's available through the end of the year. So anyway, I'll share that out to our email list as well,
Okay.
so they can look into that. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. But okay, it's 2:01. I know we could just go on for another hour, and I know you have a meeting you want to hop on. Hopefully you can catch me.
Yeah.
All right. So for those of you who may be watching the replay and didn't get to ask a question live, if you have a question for Heather, you can post it in the comments. We'll make sure it gets to her, or a question for me about the Adopt a Single Mom project. You can reach out to us. Heather, please tell people where they can find your information about your center, participating in any of your programs. How should they reach out, and where can they get more information?
Okay, if you want an application through the Pre-K Counts program, you can, or if you want enrollment or you want to talk to somebody personally about enrollment, you can email admissions with an S, ADMISSIONS, at ccelc.com. Or wait, let me look. Actually, I never email myself on that. I know. This is welcome to my world. It is. It's admissions. It's admissions at ccelc.com, or you can call 570-788-4800 extension pound. That will also get you there.
Okay, say the number again.
Okay, 570-788-4800 extension pound. And that will take you right into our administration director's email. I will go right in there. Anyway, so that's the easiest way. We're also on Facebook, Country Charm Early Learning Center on Facebook, and that's the easiest way. And it's better to have one-on-one. So if you contact us, we'll get back to you. It is the busiest time of the year.
Hours and pricing and all of that stuff, and perfect. So awesome.
Right,
so great having you here. This has just been so much amazing knowledge and insight.
It's a lot.
Really helpful. Yeah, it's a lot. So thank you.
It's a lot. Okay, sure, anytime. Oh, and I'm sorry, here, I just pulled it up. Admissions at countrycharmelc.com. I was right.
Okay. All right.
Okay?
Say goodbye.
It's hard on the spot sometimes. Bye. Bye.